Good day for us to turn to David Freddoso, contributing editor to the Washington Examiner, also a New York Times best-selling author. David, as you look at the election and the outcome, what conclusions did you draw about what it means?
Well, for one thing, it's really hard to say this about an election, but it's just really hard to find any silver lining for Democrats in the results. One of the I don't know if you yesterday or if you've noticed this today, for any of your listeners from West Virginia, their legislature has just turned Republican because once the results were in, one more state senator switched parties. It's kind of like the hole just keeps getting deeper here. The other thing is the way President Obama has reacted to it, just sort of dismissing the result almost. What elections? His press conference yesterday, I think, couldn't have been more different from the one he gave in 2010.
Yeah, you're right, David Freddoso. In fact, he emphasized the two-thirds that didn't vote, implying that this isn't really a mandate and the people aren't really interested in the Republican agenda. Oh, yeah,
and people keep saying, acting as if that two-thirds has been disenfranchised or something when I talk to people who are upset about the election. And, yeah, people are mighty upset, by the way. Don't be too gleeful around some of your friends.
No.
But yeah, that's it's. I don't know that I certainly wasn't expecting anything nearly so crushing. And when you get an election like this, people just they're going to get a little emotional about it. They're going to get upset. It's the President of the United States, though, kind of has to take these things a little differently. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that the whole kind of trying to act as though the election doesn't matter, whatever, it kind of matters a little more than that.
You know this town pretty well, David Freddoso, and you know a lot of the players in the Senate who are either transitioning out of leadership, at least the majority leadership, or transitioning out of town. What could we expect in the next 2 months in this lame duck session that we might want to be on our guard for?
Well, for one thing, I think that if Republicans are smart about what sort of bills they're going to send up early, I think that you're going to, I think they actually have a good chance to pull off a bit of a PR coup. I don't think Republicans generally do this sort of thing, and I don't necessarily have faith that they'll pull it off. But if you start sending up, they're talking about sending up those bills that have been in the logjam this whole time, the ones that Reid hasn't wanted to allow a vote on the entire time Democrats been in control of the Senate. And, that strikes me as a very smart kind of political approach that's not very characteristic of Republicans, frankly.
What is your greatest concern about this lame duck session and this lame duck president?
What's Harry Reid going to do?
Well, right. I mean, these last days here, the idea that we haven't quite seen yet exactly what we're going to get in terms of nominations sort of being rushed through at the last minute out of, quick, jumping on the last helicopter out of Saigon, just trying to get anything through before the 11th hour measures. They can only do so much, but that is one thing they definitely can do is executive nominations now that they've changed the Senate rules. So that's what I mostly worry about. I also think that the idea that they would pass anything long term, like spending measures, whatever. Ted Cruz was just saying the other day, let's not pass anything that lasts longer than say February or March because they just got voted out. Why would we be giving them the opportunity to do that? It seems like a pretty sensible thing to say, actually.
And then in terms of the president's threats yesterday about executive action, he's sort of arguing out of both sides of his mouth. I wonder, again, what the Republican strategy should be here. He said, if the Republicans don't give me a bill, I'm going to have to act unilaterally, and I'll do that by the end of the year. The Republicans aren't in charge until after the end of the year.
Right. No. Yeah, exactly. Well, it just tells you how sincere all of this really is. He's intent on doing something, beat the tar out of me, or whatever in this election. Therefore, you should give me everything you want, everything I want. Doesn't make a lot of sense, really. The whole idea here, and that was an issue that was actually very important in several different races. People did bring that up, and whatever your opinion is of it, I think there's actually an appreciation even among people who are supportive of some kind of immigration reform that it should go through Congress, and that the president shouldn't just do it on his lonesome just because he didn't get what he wanted today. And that was the tone I got yesterday, was Obama kind of saying, well, I want this, and therefore it's going to happen, and either you can make it happen or I'm going to make it happen. You're forcing me to do this thing without Congress, which is just not the case. Actually, you're not forced to. You don't have to do anything. That's, I've never seen so many people make excuses for a presidential, action alone like this. But when it's Obama, I guess it's a little bit different.
All right, so let's just project forward. We're at the first of the year. The House passes a bill, sends it to the Senate. The Senate passes a bill, sends it to the President. President vetoes the bill. You don't have the votes to override. So where are we then?
Well, then I think you have to do some of the, you have to make compromises, or you have to settle for disappointments. We've had this. One of the things that Reid has done as Senate Majority Leader is simply preventing votes. He has used the Senate chamber as a way of protecting the president from being embarrassed by having to veto anything. And Republicans did this too when Bush was president, and it helped cost them the House and the Senate in 2006. Bush didn't even have to cast a veto, I believe. I don't even remember, but it was way late into his presidency when he first had to veto a bill.
Yeah, but if you want to embarrass a president, this is a president who is never going to run for re-election. He is, for all intent and purposes, he's a lame duck. So you can embarrass him all you want. It doesn't matter.
Well, you can, but they don't even want it to come to that. They don't want things to reach his desk, and so that that I think hurt the Democrats very badly. So what happens when this happens? Look, I would love to see the Senate go back to a body where people can actually propose amendments. Reid has prevented that. He does this thing called filling the tree to stop any amendment from getting a vote because he doesn't want his members to have to take embarrassing votes. Well, guess what that meant? That meant that a lot of his members had voted with President Obama 95, 96, 97, 98% of the time, and that was what the Republicans used against them. So, I think that backfired, and I think that you're you might actually see a Senate where senators are given back some of the rights and the powers that they've traditionally had to debate things and to propose amendments and that sort of thing. And maybe the result isn't always what everybody wants, but we saw this sort of iron fist kind of leadership from the Republicans back in the middle of the last decade when they controlled the House and the Senate, and maybe less the Senate, but the House at least. We saw it from Reid now. We saw it from Pelosi when she controlled the House. Why don't we go back to having a system of freedom where, maybe the Democrats win a couple votes every now and then, but at least there's actually some give and take, you know? People are making compromises on certain things.
What a concept there, David. I don't know if America's ready for that. Listen, David, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me on.